This talk was given by Roshi Martin, guiding teacher of the Endless Path Zendo, a lay Buddhist community in Rochester, New York. Join our practice, in person or online, at endlesspathzendo.org.
So today is Tuesday, October 14th. This is the final teisho of our Jataka Sesshin at the Vermont Zen Center for 2025. We'll look tonight at the Garahita Jataka, number 219, in the Pali collection of 547 such stories. It goes like this. Long ago, the Buddha was a monkey. When grown, he became leader of a monkey troop. One day he was trapped and caught by a woodsman. This monkey is large, handsome, and clever, thought the woodsman. He's already almost figured a way out of the trap. I'll bring him to the king, who enjoys the antics of monkeys. The king was indeed pleased. He rewarded the woodsman and put a golden collar and chain around the monkey's neck. He gave the monkey good food and toys to play with and treated him kindly. He liked his new pet so much, he took him to archery contests, gymnastic events, horse races, banquets, weddings. He took him to dances, musical gatherings, legal judgments. Where the king went, the monkey went. At night he slept near the king on a silken pillow. The king's affection for the monkey continued to grow. One day the king said to the woodsman, "Do you remember where you found my monkey?" He asked. "I do, my lord," answered the woodsman. "Take him back and release him. Makes me sad to think he's been kept from his forest home, from his family and friends." The king unhooked the golden collar and gave the monkey to the woodsman. Deep in the forest, following the king's wishes, the woodsman set him free. The monkey bounded away, scrambling up the face of a great boulder that served as the monkey's gathering place. Quickly, his fellow monkeys gathered around him, astonished to see their chief still alive. They had given him up for dead long ago. When the joyous hubbub subsided, they asked their king, the Bodhisattva monkey, "Where have you been? How is it that you've returned? How did you escape?" The Bodhisattva said, "I was trapped by a woodsman who brought me to the king. For the last 2 years, I was the king's pet. I dined on rich foods and slept on silken cushions. I saw how human kings and nobles live. I wore a golden collar and chain. Longing for the forest and missing you all, I tried many times to escape but never could. Finally, I accepted my situation and made the most of it. I'm not one to mope. Still, if the chain and collar had been unclipped, I would have made a run for it. But it never was. As there was nothing more I could do, I made friends with the king. One day he seemed to realize that I'd been stolen from my home, from family and friends, and ordered me returned to the forest and released. The monkeys were impressed. "That's a good king," they said. "Yes, and the woodsman was all right too," said the Bodhisattva. "He actually took me back to where he caught me, just as the king asked." "What was it like living among humans?" the monkeys asked. "No," said the Bodhisattva, shaking his head. "Now that I'm free, I will not speak of it." "Tell us," they begged. "We too would like to know the ways of men." The monkey Bodhisattva settled on his haunches. "Gathered in close," he said at last. "I don't want to raise my voice to say this, and I will tell it only once." When the monkeys had all gathered, he began. "All people, high to low, king to beggar, exclaim, 'Mine, mine! This gold is mine,' they proclaim. They look at a tree and say, 'It's mine, it's my tree.' At a mountain, and again mine. At a river, and yet again mine. At a horse, an elephant, a man, a woman, a child, a mango, a monkey. Mine, mine," they proclaim day and night. they have no peace. They think by saying mine, they possess things and keep them. They will kill even others of their own kind for the sake of this horrid me and mine. The monkey's hair stood on end. Many began to shiver, teeth chattering in terror. Others covered their ears, crying out, "Stop, stop!" Some fell down and wept, exclaiming, "Terrible!" Others said, "We shall never be free from this. Our gathering place is now stained and no longer a place of comfort. We must choose another meeting place." Then they scampered away, abandoning their ancestral gathering place to the jungle. Their chief, the Buddha, in a previous life, painfully wise in the ways of men, went with them, never to return. So, commentary. You might remember George Harrison of the Beatles. He wrote a song, "I, me, mine." All through the day, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. All through the night, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. Now they're frightened of leaving it. Everyone's weaving it, going on strong all the time. All through the day, I, me, mine. He could be a monkey, he's so smart. Not surprisingly, there are many Jatakas in which the Bodhisattva, the Buddha, in a past life is a monkey. In some of the tales he's foolish, and some brave, and some wise. In India, monkeys are as common as crows. 2,600 years or so ago, people were well aware that monkeys were like us. They cared for their young, were smart, nimble, entertaining, courageous, clever, exasperating, and highly emotional. The Jatakas reflect a full range of their observed behaviors. While the Garahita Jataka doesn't spell out the Bodhisattva monkey's difficulties, the whole tale is about difficulty. The monkey Bodhisattva was stolen from his home, taken from family and friends, and kept from his natural life and aspirations. The text is rather canny on details, leaving us to fill in the blanks. We must engage with the text for the story to live. Was the monkey Bodhisattva terrified, enraged, depressed by his capture? Did he try to bite the hands that fed him? Did he tear at his golden collar and struggle to get free? How and when did he come to accept, even perhaps at times enjoy, the foods, toys, colors, sights, and smells of city and court? When and how did he begin to appreciate the king's friendship and learn to work with his situation rather than fight it? How long did it take, and how did the change take place? All of which pretty much remains outside the story. What we do know is that he seems to have made the best of a bad situation, and that in time won the king's love and respect, and was freed. There's the one bit of good news. The human king had a recognition, a change of heart. He came to see that his pet was a fellow suffering being, and seeing this, gave up his personal pleasure in ownership and gave the monkey the one gift he really needed, freedom. It was a noble act and a hopeful one, revealing our human potential to mature beyond self-centeredness. It creates a different world. There is always that hope. Maybe we'll change. In that revolutionary act by the king of taking another's needs, an animal's needs, as sincerely as his own, and in the honesty of the woodsman who does as ordered and brings the monkey home rather than dumping it in a convenient spot, this little Jataka offers a model for the opening of the way. At the same time, it also invites us to consider that, like the monkey Bodhisattva, we too may need to learn to work with disappointments, challenges, obstacles, setbacks, injustice. The story also takes the so-called pyramid of life, that comforting and convenient mental model with we humans seated conveniently at the top, and flips it completely over. For it's one of the rare Jatakas to show us not how we see animals, but how animals see us. Perhaps they have us sized up pretty well, too. And yet it's also true that animals seem to appreciate humans. Old ways stories worldwide say that animals liked our music, our dances, our stories, our songs and ceremonies, that this, the core of our real humanness, not just our tempting food, is what drew them to initially gather around our campfires long ago. They wanted to watch us dance and sing and tell stories. We brought something they appreciated into the world, and we were good at it. Indigenous peoples worldwide for a long time have held that animals and humans share one mind, and that each species brings unique gifts, powers, and virtues to the whole. Our own times now, more or less, are not immune to such ancient insights, which are a step forward from the last hundreds of years of rather horrifyingly rationalistic Western thinking about animals. A well-known quote by Henry Beston from his book, The Outermost House, which was published nearly 100 years ago, 1928, helps correct this. He wrote, "We need another and a wiser and perhaps more mystical concept of animals. We patronize them for their incompleteness, for their tragic fate, for having taken form so far below ourselves. And therein do we err. For the animal shall not be measured by man in a world older and more complete than ours. They move finished and complete, gifted with the extension of the senses we have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. They are not brethren, they are not underlings, they are other nations caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and travail of the earth." Koan 69 in the Book of Serenity puts it like this. Nan Chuan addressed his assembly and said, "All the Buddhas of past, present, and future do not know it really is. Instead, the badger and the fox know it really is." As a koan, this has its own dharmic edge. But in light of this Jataka, we might enjoy adding monkeys to that list besides the badger and fox. Heck, we can add all animals, birds, insects, plants, lichens, molds, viruses. Each knows exactly what it needs to know and do to be itself. Only humans, burdened by the weight of our unrealized, unawakened potential, keep floundering, losing our way and creating our own and others' problems, which seems to be the story of our human realm path. We keep making the same mistakes until, at some point, we finally accept, motivated by the suffering our errors create, that we'd be better off not making these errors. And to do that, we are going to have to do the work. We are going to have to grow up. We are going to have to take responsibility. We are going to have to change and not wait for others to do it first. When we work on ourselves, things do start to shift. As old karma is accepted and worked with, our awful sense of isolation lightens. We start to connect. We even have moments of living in an intimate universe. But the core of the problem remains, and it is exactly as the monkey Bodhisattva describes it. Mine, mine, mine. The human king in this story gives us a hint of how the turn toward wisdom might begin. Going back to yesterday's teisho on the Tigress Jataka and Gary Snyder's brief verse comment, the human king's selfless deed upholds the possibility that maybe we'll change. It's the opening, a shift of perspective that's in the Dharma, a first small step on the way of the Bodhisattva. In a New Yorker interview in 2021, Jane Goodall, what a perfect name, Goodall. Unbelievable, isn't it? Goodall, now alas gone from this world, said that hope is not merely passive wishful thinking, but as a crucial survival trait. She said, if you don't have hope that your action is going to make a difference, why bother to do anything? You just become a zombie. Maybe we'll change. As human beings, we have the potential to wake up, drop self-centeredness, and be of benefit to all. Since we have this potential to grow up and mature, when we deny it and give in to childishly self-aggrandizing views and self-centered dreams and ways, which is also an option for us humans, we create the nightmarish conditions we know too well. The tragic consequences of me and mine play themselves out every day in forests and factories, in schools and political assemblies, in war zones and oceans. Me and mine is not an old story. It's one that defines our present catastrophes, from misogyny and racism to fear-driven fascism, environmental destruction, thuggish violence, and unending wars. Zen practice is a way of facing the source of all of these directly, opening and releasing the tangled knot at their core. While Zen practice realization is a genuine fix, it is not a quick one. Facing the consequences of mine may define our times. Yet this brief 2,500-year-old or so story suggests that we have known about the problem for a very long time. Why does it take us so long to find and apply the solution? Must we wait till our bones are struck before we do something about it? Well, on a saha, a bearable, tolerable world such as ours, that seems to be how it is. It's said, as we've mentioned before, that Buddhas must use strong words and even blows to get the stubborn and willful human beings on planet Earth to start paying attention, as the black hound Jataka and others show. The solution, of course, is not to get rid of I, me, and mine, but to practice with it, to see through it, and release it, like the Bodhisattva monkey himself, back into the larger wilds of natural mind. And here's some hopeful news. It may not need everyone on the planet to work at this to effect our much-needed change. Perhaps this is an apocryphal tale, but supposedly the visionary engineer Buckminster Fuller, when young, was in despair over the state of the world. The story goes that he saw an ocean liner heading out to sea and realized that the angle of the tiny trim tab at the rear of the rudder were changed. Then, as that huge ship chugged along, he would end up in a totally different destination from where it had originally been headed. He didn't even need to move the rudder, just the tiny trim tab at the very end, the back of the rudder. He then saw how it could just be a small percentage was all that might be needed to change the direction of the world. And then Fuller then dedicated himself to activating that trim tab. While humans and animals talk freely in many Jatakas, the monkey leader and the human king don't speak to one another in this one. Likewise, the Bodhisattva sage and the tigress never talk in the tigress Jataka either. Motivation is given and action shown. Perhaps such Jatakas don't take place in a distant or far distant past, but are closer to our own time, when the walls between the realms have thickened. Still, any child who grows up with a pet already knows that animals communicate with us, often much better than we do with them. Today, scientists are working to establish or reestablish interspecies conversations with primates, corvids, cetaceans, elephants, and octopuses. If so, the ancient world of the Jatakas is again and at long last not far off. The wholeness and holiness of the world could be again at our doorstep. Or we might also take 2 steps back and reject that hopeful option. We are a conflicted species. Our self-centered greed, anger, and ignorance, the expression of our false sense of egotistic isolation, creates much that is antithetical to our own best life options and aspirations. Still, as a culture, given contemporary neuroscience and a growing awareness of other species, we are moving toward accepting what the Jatakas knew long ago, that every animal is unique, not generic, that each animal has its own aspirations and character and is not a cookie-cutter automatic replica of others of its kind. Individual personality, motivations, aspirations, and friendships have now been recognized among bears, sharks, octopuses, and yes, even rattlesnakes. Paper wasps, we now also know, can recognize other individual paper wasp faces, which means that individuality goes way down into the biome. Plus, we are realizing that animals have cultures and ethical guidelines. Contemporary research into matrilineal orca communities and sperm whale families are making this very clear. A professional diver and his camera crew snorkeling among sperm whales, which have the largest brains on the planet, soon after a sperm whale calf had been born, recounts this. They were welcoming us to the most sacred of events, the birth of a new baby whale. They welcomed us, the same species from the same island as those who had killed them less than 30 years before. That is why I know they are so much more intelligent, so much more sophisticated, so beyond us humans. The epilogue to Carnivore Minds, a book by G.A. Bradshaw, which is the source of that quote, concludes, despite what humans have done, sperm whale culture remains inclusive, rooted in the belief of mutual respect. For sperm whales, the largest predators on the planet, the counterpoint of victimhood, revenge, is obviously unnecessary. And so it has failed to find a place within their society. Perhaps their seemingly infinite compassion comes from the vast oceans where they live. There, space and time, subject and object fuse in the sperm whale click and coda language that envelops the planet like an invisible connective tissue. It is in this gentle world that we find an ethical exemplar who should inspire our own species' evolution. What's beautiful in our monkey Jataka is that the king doesn't need prompting to do the right thing. He recognizes that something is amiss and responds on his own. While it's almost a footnote to the pain of this story, it is also, as mentioned, a source of hope. Recognizing the animal's pain, which the king himself has been guilty of perpetuating, he puts self-interest aside, sets the monkey free. With this small, noble act, he opens a path to selfless giving. He, too, is giving his all. So there's no need for the bodhisattva animal to convert the human king, which is the more typical Jataka pattern. Instead, the king frees his pet with no more drama than a simple, "Goodbye, monkey, and good luck." But then comes the corker. While the king in the tale is good, our entire human world is shown to be horrifyingly crazy in the eyes of these so-called lesser beings. Monkeys, it turns out, whom we think of as below us on life's grand pyramid, don't find us funny, wise, cute, or admirable. Rather, they see us as distressingly deluded and destructive. We know that animals, so-called lesser beings, can be purer in their affections than we humans may be. A dog may wait every day for years at the station for an owner who can never return. An elephant won't eat until his dog friend is again well. You can find videos of this on YouTube and Facebook, and get this, it's also almost exactly as Jataka number 27 in the Pali collection of 547 Jataka tales, the elephant and the dog. A dog is sick and the elephant will not eat until its dog friend is well. You can see a video of that today. Dogs have attacked bears to save their people, will lead strangers to where a child or another dog lies hurt, and will charge through flames to save humans. A cat may attack and drive off a stray dog it sees endangering a child. A gorilla in a zoo protected a child who'd fallen into its habitat. A humpback whale made persistent efforts to protect a snorkeler from a shark. Orcas have begun offering food to humans, jellyfish, turtles, fish, kelp, one very intelligent mammalian species seeking on its own to open up communication with another species, us. We honor humans who do selfless, self-sacrificing things, seeing in their actions the highest nobility and deepest humanity, giving them medals for courage and heroism. Yet as animals do these things too, perhaps it is not human nature we should be honoring, but our common animal one, our common to all life true nature. How compassionate and courageous animals must be to befriend us, and how tolerant of our dismally persistent history of wrong thinking, alienation, and lack of intimacy. In short, how Buddha-like they are, with their fur, horns, fangs, and claws intact. The Jatakas know this realm well. Persistent, dedicated Dharma practice helps us peel away our delusion of alienation, so we can get beyond our little self-centered solar system with me, my, and mine as its sun, and everything and everyone else turned into so many planets revolving around it. Zen practice aims to free us and the world from the nightmare that makes us feel like strangers, mere visitors to the planet and the universe, entitled somehow to do to other species what we would never want done to us. Zen practice is a way to reclaim our original intimacy with all life. It's not something we have to get, if by that we mean add. It's ours from the start, if we only knew it. If me and mine fall away, even temporarily, there it is. Yet, old habits of separation promise so much that, like addicts, we keep returning to them. Eventually, though, if we persist with our practice, we realize that the promise they hold is always around the next bend, over the next hill, after the next pay rise, beyond the next award or degree, just over there, somewhere in the future. Jam yesterday and jam tomorrow, but no jam today, as the Queen says to Alice. But what about today? Indeed, what about now? Still, let's not be too hard on ourselves. Even the Bodhisattva monkey, the Buddha in a past life, was caught. Was the trap baited with sweets that even a wise monkey couldn't resist? The good news is that all we need to do to walk to this fundamental freedom is let go of clinging to ourselves itself the outcome of an identification with habitually isolating, self-oriented thoughts, focusing on returning to the practice again and again. We allow the world of people and things to step in. This cup, this spoon, this wall, this mat, this doorknob, as we practice. It happens naturally as we pay attention to this count, this breath, this koan, this inquiry, rather than to the incessant demands of mine, me, mine. Zen Master Dogen, commenting on the precept of not withholding spiritual or material aid, says, from the beginning, there's been no stinginess at all. Nothing has been withheld. He is not referencing the oligarch's misguided path of wealth and power, a path guided by inadequacy and fear, arising out of the very real poverty which calls itself entitlement. Zen's freedom means real freedom from egotism, not the false freedom of being fully as egotistic as we want. The precepts help us live this. Me and mine can cloud over our nature the way a single finger can block the light of the sun. Intimacy or realization is a practice, a possibility to be actualized, a step to take, again, consciously take, and again. We work at it in the Zendo and in our lives. And while we're not in dominion on this earth, microbes, and probably given their sheer numbers, insects probably hold that position, we still have so much technological and economic power that the choices we make, the things we do and do not do, affect countless lives, human and non-human, for good or ill. Long ago, the Buddha as a monkey saw the horror of mine, the primal disease that still plagues us today. The good news is that this illness can be cured. Dharma teachings and Zen practice are medicines, the sense of peace and connection, arising from the intimacy or non-separation that comes as we persevere in Zazen, is not the end of me and mine, but it is the beginning of the end. Now we have one more solid night and one more morning to give our all. If we carry on, if we sincerely continue, breath by breath, then in time perhaps we too will at last shed our merely human skin and become as wise as trees, as stars, as whales, as monkeys.